Welcome to another episode of the 100% podcast with me, your host, Harry Purdy. Today, I am delighted to welcome a new guest. Before I introduce this guest, I'm going to let you know, the listeners, why I've invited him on. I love inspiration. I love people who give 100%. And this man, in my opinion, gives 100% not only to himself, but to his community around him. I think there's a huge space in the education system in general for awareness on mental health and how to improve ourselves and how we deal with our emotions. And it goes missed in the education system. And this man is doing a lot to raise awareness, to educate children and bring them up in a better, healthier way. And here he is. Welcome to the show, the fearless man himself, Mr. Chris Sheehan. Welcome to the show, bro.
Hey man, you all right?
Yeah, all good, man. How are you?
Yeah, no man, I'm good.
So we know just from that little introduction, you are the creator of Fearless Academy, and you go into schools, you educate children on emotions, confidence, state. How did that journey start for you, first and foremost?
The journey started, I did start off doing bits and pieces with adults, but one thing came very clear to me when I started doing bits of sports coaching in schools and working with kids, that there's nothing out there really that teaches them the basics. And off the back of my own story and knowing the fact that my two boys are the reason that I'm still here now, makes me want to go and do it more, because I also know that if I had learned this stuff that I know now through my coach, there's no way I would have found myself where I was in 2018. And I feel like if we can give the kids these most basic, simple tools and techniques and help them create good habits and rituals now, as they get older, they're going to be able to look after themselves a lot better.
Insane. Amazing. In terms of, you say, educating them on the basics, what are we saying that the basics are for young people and children when they're growing up? What are they missing?
They're just missing simple things, simple tools and techniques that we, and now that I've learned, I take for granted. So like, it'd be simple things like hydration. It'd be simple things like movement and exercise, understanding how you feel and why you feel that, understanding that you can change how you feel in an instant. It's a choice. And simple things that we can do, something as simple as looking through the camera roll on your phone and understanding that that can put you in a good mood, because I'd say 98 to 99% of the stuff on my phone I've taken pictures of are stuff that inspires me and I love. So it might be pictures of me and my kids on days out. It might be a picture of me taking a picture of a sunset whilst I'm out walking. It might be pictures of holidays, friends, family, whatever it may be. I can't look through the camera roll on my phone and not feel happy afterwards, no matter what state I'm in. So it's just giving these kids like simple tools and techniques like that to understand how they can change how they feel in an instant and what they can do to do that. And also explain to them that all emotions, all feelings serve a purpose. Because so many kids I speak to are like, oh, I feel sad, I feel unhappy, I shouldn't feel that way. Well, you should. And I always say to them, I also have you consider that these negative, what we class as negative emotions, also are just as important as the good ones. And all they are is just an alarm clock inside us, letting us know that something's not quite right. And then how we use what we do then to change it.
Insane. And I think what's so important as well, it took me 28 years of my life to get that lesson.
Yeah.
I'm really fortunate to have got it, because
Yeah.
it would be a really interesting alternate universe to discover a Harry Purdy that didn't have the tools and the knowledge
Yeah,
around feeling not okay is all right, and then
yeah.
learning the tools to be able to feel good, feel better, change my energy, change my state. It's kind of like, I don't want to think about it too much because it's worrying place to think about that I could have been at. But
Oh yeah,
to
100%.
actually implement that at an early age, and even if you're in an assembly for an hour, 2 hours, this one child could hear that actually me feeling sad today or me feeling a bit stressed or anxious today is a normal thing, could
Yeah,
change their life.
yeah, 100%. I was at a school this morning near me, and I had 5 kids come up to me afterwards, because I always hang around afterwards when I'm packing up, because a lot of the time kids don't like sharing things in front of friends and like people that they don't know, and they find it quite hard. Even as adults, we'll find that we won't want to share in front of certain people. And I've been there before and I completely get it. And I have 5 kids come up after me and ask me like class questions, like real good questions. I'm thinking like, at your age, how are you like on that level? Like, how are you like expecting to carry on with that thought that you've got now? Like the thought that, oh, I'm feeling nervous when I'm coming into school. I shouldn't be feeling like that. Like, why? There's obviously something at school. There's a thought that's creating that feeling inside you. And they might have people saying to them, "Oh, you're just being silly," or "Oh, come on, you just need to go. There's no help there. It's just you just need to do this." And the thing is, what I find is as well with kids is we have an expectation of them. Like we almost think that they should be on the same level as us. Like I hear teachers or a parent or something might be talking to a child and they're saying, "Oh, I'm giving them advice. Oh, you shouldn't be feeling like that." But why? They're just a child. Like why are they any different to you? And I think like a lot of the time, a lot of people have an expectation of their child that they should be doing certain things or they should be feeling a certain way when really they don't know any different and they're just following their normal basic human, like the stuff that we've learned since thousands of years ago. And I think like we get caught up in this whole kids should feel this and touching on what you said just a minute ago about, it's okay to not be okay. Like people tell this to kids and also you hear adults say it to each other, it's okay to not be okay. I don't agree with that. I agree with it's okay to not be okay. What is not okay is staying there.
Mm.
It's important that we move out of that feeling, out of that phase. Yes, it's okay to not feel okay. It's normal to feel that, but staying there and accepting to stay there and not do anything about it is not okay.
Mate. I think I knew this was going to be a great conversation just because of the fact that, in terms of, and look, I know many amazing people in the education system. Part of, like, there's family members that are doing great things as teachers and head teachers as well. And I
Yeah,
know that they do all they can to support the children in our education system, but they're understaffed, underfunded, and
yeah,
and essentially the most important thing is, yes, they've got PE and there is some movement kind of incorporated in their daily lives when they're at school, which is fine. They get break times and stuff, obviously, if it's not raining, and that's fine.
yeah,
But the mental side of growing up, the feelings that you are experiencing, and all that kind of education is just left. And
yeah,
yeah, it's great. Like obviously basic maths, basic English. But when I think of my education around the hours that I spent into Pythagoras theorem, for example, or I don't know, like how many numbers I could remember of pi, like it's the same thing. But anyway, we'll move on from there. That shows how much I remember from it. But what I'm saying is, if only that time would have gone into, I don't even know what the class would have been called, but a class where you could go in and talk about how you regulate emotions, how you work away from them, how to set
yeah,
inspiring goals, how to not be put off of chasing your dreams, all these kind of things. Like that is way more value to me. It would have been way more valuable to me than some of the lessons that I did actually
100%.
have.
Yeah, 100%. And it's little things. I think like they should have a lesson where it's just called life skills.
Yeah.
I know so many lads. My eldest left school last July, right? He left. He didn't even know how to open a bank account. Doesn't know how to use. Didn't know how to use a washing machine. Didn't know how to do certain things. These certain things, unless I teach them, unless parents teach these kids these things, they don't learn these things. I understand they've got lots to cram in, and that's the whole point of doing homework. They've got so much to cram in with the education system. But there's certain things that, like you said, we could probably do without, and we could introduce these things that are literally going to help them through life
Yeah.
because there's such an area where things aren't done to support kids enough. I made a post a little while ago and it was like kids deserve more. They deserve more support, more emotional intelligence. They deserve more heroes. They deserve more role models. And these things we lack a lot. There's a lot at the moment where there's not this, like we always talk about being the lighthouse inside the program, like the parents. We lead the kids by example. We show them, we don't tell them. And there's that lack of inspiration from an older like input as such. And teachers are so stretched at the moment with what they have to do and what they have to deal with that you find out a lot of teachers are so stressed out they haven't got that ability to they haven't got it in them to give that as well. Like they go in to teach, but they haven't got that to go in. Some days like they'll go in and they just haven't got the energy to go in to go that extra mile because they've got so much put on top of them. And I think it's so important. There's not enough what we call leaders. I don't think there's enough leaders for kids to follow at the moment.
Yeah, you're so right because I know as well, just from first-hand examples of where people have had to work 70, 80-hour weeks because of the marking that they've got after school. And basically that's what they're judged off of, right?
Yeah, yeah,
In their getting the kids in their classes good grades, and do the parents have something that they can almost monitor their child on from outside of school? Not, are the children in my class getting better
happy.
at life skills, happy,
Yeah,
yeah, emotionally intelligent, yeah, which is, when you break it down like that, it's almost crazy, almost
yeah.
crazy. In fact, no, it is crazy a bit, really, isn't it?
It's just the simple things, mate. Like teaching these kids, like the program that I run, the Fearless program, the academy. My biggest thing is I teach kids how to live more confident, motivated, happier, fulfilling lives. Have you got those four things? Like I know for a fact, if I've got those four things in my life, I'm good.
So when you do that for children, obviously we do the higher end of that spectrum with the journaling, the meditation, the discipline, the obviously chasing focus goals, financial, all of those kind of things. How do you break that down for children in a way that they can understand?
So I've got the Fearless journal, which I designed, which is based off the back of a few journals that I've used in the past. I picked out the best bits. We set 30-day goals.
Sick.
So with a kid, like I know 90 days for me is just right, but I know a kid, for example, would lose interest. Like you wouldn't be able to keep them going on the same goal for 90 days. I just don't think they've got that attention span, and I don't think they've got that focus to be able to do it over a longer period. So we do 30 days. We just do short sprints. So the journal itself is only 30 days. In the journal, we set a goal on the first page, the goal, why we want to do it, and the drawbacks of not doing it. And then on the like the second page in, it's literally we go straight into daily journaling. So the first question in the journal is, how do I want to feel today? Why do I want to feel that? What I can do to create it. So straight away in the morning, the kids are focusing on how they want to feel, why they want to feel that way, and how they can create it. There's other ones we do. We have points in the program as well. So the kids work on a point score of 5 points a day. So you get a point for movement, a point for hydration, a point for gratitude, writing three things that you're grateful for, showing appreciation to someone every day, because I think that's huge. Giving, like the two trainings that I've done recently inside the program is just about giving to the kids, like, and how that can have such a positive impact on your life. And blackout, which is a big one. So basically setting an evening routine, 30 minutes before bed, no electronics. So they're winding down for bed. Also, what that does is it encourages them in that 30 minutes to do their journal in the evening. And I've recorded a guided meditation for the kids as well. So a lot of them listen to that as well. So when it gets to like 8 o'clock in the evening, they'll sit down, no electronics, they'll do their journal, listen to the meditation, and go to sleep.
Amazing.
The results it's had, like the parents messaged me like 2 3 days in, like it's like a different child. It's honestly, it's completely just that one thing. The blackout has changed like the game for so many of them.
I remember seeing I believe it was a political poster, and it was a ballet dancer putting her ballet shoes in a bag. And it was essentially saying that, don't, I remember the poster vividly. It was essentially a poster saying, don't chase your dreams, go for the normal, find the normal job. It's too hard to chase your dreams. And this is aimed at adults. What
Yeah.
are the things that you see that are almost automatically aimed at kids that stop them from chasing the astronaut dreams that we all heard our mates say at school and those kind of things?
I think for me, the personal one I had was football. So when I was 14, I had trials with Southampton. I went to a soccer school and had trials with them and come back, didn't get through. And I remember my dad saying to me, he's just like, there's no sort of future for in football. It's so hard to get into, and it's like pummeled into me. Like it's so hard to make it. You're not going to make it. You need to think about other options, focus on your schoolwork. And I gave up football. Like at that point, I gave up football for a few years, concentrated on my schoolwork. I didn't do amazing in school. I wasn't academic at all, really. And then I went back. It got to a point where I was like 19, 20, I think it was. And I was like, I really miss playing football. Just inquired to a couple of clubs. And I went training for a team who were in a county league. It was in a Div 3 county league. And I signed up and I was playing for them like 2 weeks later. and then I played up till last year. And there's a lot of me now that thinks like, well, what if I just stuck at it? And I think that's a lot of the time, like, I understand as parents, like, we want our kids to be realistic because we don't want to see them get hurt, disappointed, or let down. But I always have you consider that your kids need to fail. And that's the only way they're ever going to learn. You just need to, I always say, like, I give my kids enough rope to trip themselves up, but not enough to hang themselves. And that goes across the board with whatever they're doing. Like, I always say to my kids, like, I want you to go out. I want you to go out and seek failure, because if you're not looking, if you're not failing at stuff, you're not even trying, because you can't. If you're not failing at anything, you're not even trying. And then on the other end of that is you never really truly fail either. You either win or you learn.
I love that. Yeah. All these little reminders and things that we can take from this podcast today already. And I think the thing as well here, I'm no parent, but I've seen my like close friends, family members, of course, bring up children around me. And you always see the ones, and obviously there's no disrespect, everybody's parenting styles are different, right? The lads want to let their sons, let's just say, climb the wall and maybe fall off, let them fall off so they learn that lesson.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
then you also see the parenting style that they won't even let them go anywhere near the wall. And
yeah,
actually, the the child that falls off the wall is the one that picks up the lesson of looking after themselves and what not to do
yeah,
next, rather than somebody that may learn that lesson a little bit later down the line. The other thing that I'll add into this little bit of chat now as well is the parenting styles that are currently being created in modern day society. So sure, it's something that you're seeing a lot of in terms of like the holistic style of parenting, where emotions, and there's talk of emotions and why you feel certain ways and how that can make other people feel without any form of action on the end of it. But then
yeah,
also on the front of parenting and just growing up in the 21st century in general, and how much screen time is almost enforced on children, and the lack of, I guess, outgoingness is like, or lack of adventure, so to speak, that
yeah,
maybe me, yourself, and I would have had to have gone and found. I mean, I'm a little bit younger than you, but still, at the end of school, I'd have always wanted to go out and play football with my pals rather than sit on Fortnite.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
that something that you're seeing a lot of in the education system that you're?
Oh, yeah, yeah. You hear of it a lot. So going back to what you said about the climbing the wall thing as well. I can't remember where I read it now. I saw a post and it is so true. Like the two types of parents, you've got two lads wanting to climb a tree. One parent saying, "Don't fall, make sure you don't fall, make sure you don't fall." And he was so focused on the fact he didn't fall, he fell off the tree
Mm,
because that's what he's had drummed into him. Where the other one climbs the tree, and as he goes to climb, Dad just said, "Hold on tight." So what do you think he remembered the whole time he's climbing the tree? Just
hold
hold on
tight.
tight.
Yeah.
And there was that, just those two examples there show that you can give the kids the tools just by the way you word things. Like, my mum was like, even now, she's the biggest warrior in the world. And it was so, it's honestly, mate, like, I think if she had her way, she would have wrapped us up in bubble wrap. But me and my
I
brother,
feel you. I've got a mum that's similar. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so like me and my brother always out. We're always like, we had like a little, like, next to our house, our family home, we had like a small like woods, and me and my brother in there all the time, like making like little nature boxes of like loads of bits and climbing trees, like proper lads as kids, like jumping off walls on BMXs and all sorts, just doing crazy stuff. And like that ultimately gave me the outdoorsy that I am now. And I think it's so important. So going on to what you were saying about like the Xbox and stuff like that, I don't think we always talk about COVID and stuff like that, but I think that had such a massive impact. And I see that in kids in school now. Like a lot of the time, they don't know how to socialize. It's almost like they miss that whole. There's a lot of kids that miss that transition from primary school into secondary school. They got dropped straight into like year 8 or whatever it may have been at the time. And they lack those social skills. And you can see it like in some of the schools that I go in now, there's year 6 lads that are acting like kids from like year 4. Like
Mm.
it's almost like they're really immature for their age. And I'm thinking, guys, you're going to be stepping up into year 7 next year. Like you're going to be in for a massive wake up call. And I think a lot of it comes down to this missed period of like the socializing. And then that's where the electronic side of things has come in more, because everything was done electronically. They were being taught from home on Zoom calls. They weren't allowed to go outside. And so everything was done fun-wise, was done indoors or done in the garden. You know, if people don't have gardens or live in blocks of flats, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to sit there watching TV or playing a computer or on their phone or whatever it may be. And I think that's had a massive impact. Like, it's almost like we've forgotten how to be kids sometimes. And it's so important. And I think a lot of the time I get on so well with the kids is because I'm like a big kid. And
Mm.
I think they can see that. And they like, if I go and do a lunchtime club, you know, like today I run a football lunchtime club, and the kids are playing and stuff where a lot of guys will probably stand on the sideline and watch, where I'm getting involved and I'm like, oh, it's me and the year fours versus the year fives and sixes. And like everyone's involved and we have a laugh at the same time. And I think it's because I have that interaction as well, that the kids feel it easy to talk to me and open up to me. There's a young lad at school today that I was at, and he's new to the school, and I've only ever seen him twice. And he come up to me today and really opened up to me about something that he's struggling with at home. And it's just because of that interaction, like you break those walls down. And like for any like parents that are listening, like if you have struggles with your kids trying to talk, like or try and break those barriers down. Almost be their mate. Like, and that's how I've always been with my kids. I'm like their mate, but with boundaries. They know that I've got the dad voice. Everyone knows the dad voice. They get 3 warnings and then I drop it, and then they know that's that. Obviously, I don't have to use that anymore. My boys are like 12 and nearly 17 now. So, but that's so vitally important, having that, creating that environment where the kid wants to talk. And the other thing that I drum into the kids inside the academy is how important it is to write stuff down. So a lot of the kids struggle to get, if they have an issue with mum, dad, a friend, or whoever it may be, they struggle to get that out, like how to talk it out, like verbally. So I create the letter, and I've called it the letter of letting go. And it's basically a form that can get like a letter that's printed off, or they can copy it down. It's like, dear blank, and that's how it is. Something happened to us recently. It's made me feel da da da, and then and then they basically just fill in the blanks. And then at the end, they can either hand it over or rip it up. But all it is just getting it out of their head and onto paper. I'm so highly driven to get into the kids to write stuff down, to make it visual. Like if they've got a problem, I'm like, well, write the problem down, write how it's making you feel, write how you want to feel, and then write down 3 good reasons why that's 3 positives of that thing happening. So we're turning it around. It's not just in your head, because as a child, you probably know yourself, things snowball so quickly in your head. Like your imagination is just like firing all the time. So if the kids can get it down on paper, it gets it out of their head and it's on paper. And like all of them do it. We have a call we have a call every Sunday. And if they come on with a question for me and they've got an issue, we'll work through it together. I'm like, well, get a bit of pen and paper, we'll work through this. And I get them to write it down there and then make it visual.
The fact that these kids are getting a head start of like whatever, how old on average are these children that you're working with,
The
mate?
program's 6 to 16 years, the online academy. When I go into schools, I go into schools and colleges. So right today it was a primary school, year 5 and 6, but I've spoken to kids in like year 2, right up to kids in college. So
Yeah.
it varies. And obviously age depending, you can vary what you're talking about and how you would portray it. But inside the academy itself, I'd say like the sort of the mid-range in the academy is probably 9 to sort of 12 years of age.
Insane. What, in all honesty, is the age group that you see your message really kind of impact visibly?
Visibly, I think inside the program, probably 9 to 10. You know what it's like when you get into a teenager, you always think you know best.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you get that resistance where the younger ones, the real young ones, they're learning. It's the implementing, and it's creating that routine. And this is the whole thing, like the journaling, the hydration, the movement. It's just installing easy habits, like simple habits that have such a massive impact on you moving forwards. Because once you introduce those into your life now, you know yourself that further down the line, it's the compound effect. Yeah. Further down the line, it changes the game for you completely. And if we're giving them to them now, imagine what they're going to be like. They're going to be hydrating, moving, doing blackout, showing gratitude and appreciation every single day. And it's not even going to, it's going to be second nature to them. But I think, yeah, answer your question, I think mainly 9 to 10 years
Yeah.
is really see. Well, I've got a couple of girls in the program that honestly they're just running away with it. Honestly, like I had one girl, she's left me a video testimonial the other day, and she was like, when she joined the program, she was so nervous. She didn't want to go to dance or anything like this, and now in fact, she stood on stage at her school a couple of weeks ago and gave a talk about mental health to the whole of her school.
Wow.
And like she doesn't, she can appreciate what she's achieving and what she's doing, but she still doesn't see how amazing she is and how amazing she's doing. I've got another girl that has just been asked to go into a legacy program for her dance because 6 months ago she didn't want to really go to dance or go and do her gymnastics and stuff. And